Welcome to the ProLife Team Podcast. I am Jacob Barr. I'm joined by Garrett Moldrem. We're going to talk about Garrett's video creation experience, his content work, his efforts to create video content that is helping pregnancy clinics support their clients, helping them reach their clients in hard scenarios, and how that fits in the greater pro-life sphere of all of us working in different parts and different areas, and how the video piece is such an important and integral part into this effort of serving God and helping women across the country. Garrett, I am so glad to have you on here. Would you introduce yourself as if you were talking to a group of executive directors?
Hey guys, yes, my name is Garrett Moldrem, or you can find me on the internet as Garrett Gold. It's just kind of my cool name there on the interwebs. But anyways, I am originally from Tucson, and when I was 14 years old, I started volunteering with the Crisis Pregnancy Center there, and we were in a performing arts group called Breakdown. And we would go to the different high schools and talk about abstinence. We try to make it really cool. And I think it was really cool. It definitely saved me from a life of maybe bad choices. And it just kept me on the straight and narrow, just having other friends who were like, doing the same thing. But then basically, I've just grown up kind of in the pro-life movement and doing all kinds of stuff. I've now moved up to Sholo, and I live up here. Producing pro-life videos. And so I do a whole bunch of stuff for a company called Heritage House 76. And we've got a couple of different cool products that I'd like to talk about. Did I already say this? I am a video producer. So that's what I do around here.
So tell us about the video work you're doing with Heritage House. So Bright Course and Hope Sync, tell us about the different things that are going on there.
Yeah, we have a couple of different options for centers to use all of the parenting videos that we have made. And then we have a bunch of, I guess, maybe pro-life or apologetics videos that would help walk an abortion-minded client into choosing life. And so there's two different things there. One is called Bright Course. The other is called Hope Sync. It's probably best not to talk about them at the same exact time. It might get confusing. So I'll just talk about Bright Course first. For anyone who's watching this on YouTube and not like just listening to the podcast, that's what Bright Course looks like there. Of course, you can always just look at it yourself at brightcourse.com. But basically, this is a tool that centers can use with their clients to just help give them parenting advice. And there's over 200 different videos that parents can watch, or maybe the woman is pregnant still. We have a whole series of stuff from like, hey, what to expect, in your first trimester, second, third. And then we also have a birth class that we just did. We actually just finished editing it and everything in December, and we just launched that. It's called Bright Birth Academy. It's really cool because I remember like back at, TMC, Tucson Medical Center, taking a birth class, and it was just like the worst video I've ever seen. And I was like, I hope someday that I can make a cool, birth class video. And now I've done it. So it's like, 10 years later, I've done the dream, one of those bucket list kind of things. So, but it's amazing. It's way better than probably what every hospital is using right now for, parenting classes, pregnancy classes. What are they called? Birth classes. Yes, birthing. That is the birth classes. So that's Bright Birth Academy, and that is on brightcourse.com. And then shall I go ahead and talk about Hope Sync?
Tell us about Hope Sync as well.
Okay, cool. So Hope Sync is, here's the website there. It's hopesync.com. And that's what the front page there looks like. But basically, this is different. The way you would use it in your center, it has a bunch of maybe 1 minute long videos. And let's say that your client is abortion minded. She's a Christian, but she's being pressured by her boyfriend. Well, we have a tree. And so you would click Christian, pressured by her boyfriend. And then there's 3 different videos. One's from like a pastor, one's from a doctor, and then one's just like from someone who's been there and was pressured by her boyfriend. She's a Christian, but she got an abortion. So she's just telling her story, like sharing that. And so there's like 3 different videos there that all just cater to that very specific need. And so you, as the counselor, could play either of those videos there in that room, or if you wanted to maybe save it and wait until after the counseling session, then you could like text it to that person if you wanted to. So, so that's kind of the way that Hope Sync works. And there's just hundreds of different videos that are smaller and shorter, but are very like just specific to specific reasons that an abortion-minded client would be abortion-minded. So, you know, just to offer hope.
Yeah. And your role with many of these videos is as the producer. What does your role look like when you're working on making a video? What part are you involved in?
Yeah, as the content creator, a lot of times I'm just going out and finding these interviews to shoot, or we have other producers that we all work together. So I'm not always having to do all of the making phone calls and trying to find people to shoot, but primarily just doing the shooting, doing the editing. So thankfully I don't have to do all of the work of like managing everyone and getting everyone together, but it's amazing, especially now. We've been doing this for more than 5 years, and to have so much stuff that we have made is just amazing. We just started making a new video about teething, and I had thought that we had already had a video about teething. And so I went to watch the old video and then I couldn't find it. And I was like, oh, we've never done a teething video? Like, we've been doing so many, it's been so long, I thought that we had this. And so it's really interesting how, like, man, I can't even keep track of like all the videos that we've made. So yeah.
So where have you seen God's fingerprint while, you know, being a content creator, someone who is looking to tell the story and making it, you know, interesting and cool or modern compared to the, you know, an older video that may have been the previous go-to for some groups? You know, where do you see God's fingerprints in doing this work?
It's just, you know, it's very humbling and very honoring whenever we get like a testimony, like of someone that, hey, your video, like, you know, changed my life. Obviously, I think it's a bit different because I'm not there in a counseling room or at a center or, you know, anything where I get to see one-on-one, you know, girls' lives. It wouldn't work for me to be a counselor anyways, I'm sure. But anyways, but to hear just testimonies of people who have seen the videos and it's helped them it's like a dream come true, man. Because like, I've always just, hey, I just want to make cool videos, but I make videos that make a difference. And I never really thought that I would, like, and it's just been amazing that this has actually turned into something that's sustainable. Like, you know, I remember just being in high school, and this is when like internet videos were just becoming a thing, and it's like, hey, who wants to be a YouTuber, you know? And it's like, people now my kids are always like, oh, I just want to be an influencer when I grow up. You know, it's like, do you even know what that means? Like, you know, being an influencer, but it's like, we literally are, and we get to influence people, you know, to make positive, healthy choices. Not every single one of our videos has like the gospel message in it. A lot of them we try to make more just like secular so that anyone could watch it. But the ones that are gospel minded, like, who knows? I pray that people have come to the Lord from watching videos that I've produced that have the gospel message in them. And it's like, it's just a good feeling, because like I'll be honest, like I'm not the best witness just out on the street, just talking with people like, oh, let me bring up, the Lord. And I haven't led very many people to the Lord one-on-one, but I hope that my videos have done that. So
Yeah. And so when a video is more about a healthy lifestyle or healthy decision, um, my thought is that that's sort of meeting someone where they are and
Mhm.
helping them maybe go in the right direction. And then that the conversation about Jesus might be about 6 steps away, but yet we're trying to get them into the right, direction to have that conversation. So I think a healthy lifestyle video is getting someone aligned or on the right path to hear that down the road. Yeah, I mean, if you give someone everything at the very moment, sometimes they're not ready to hear certain topics or messages, and they may bounce, or they may not stay they may not stay to hear what you have to say. But if you go at the right pace, it seems like there's a good timing for bringing on certain topics.
Mhm.
Um, so what are some of the video projects that you have worked on recently? Like, what's one of the recent projects you've worked on? You mentioned the birthing piece. Was that a series, or is that a single long video, or what did that look like?
There's 7 like 20-minute long videos, and they walk through everything. It's great because we don't just get stuck focusing on like Lamaze or anything like that. I had one person tell me like, yeah, we just spent like 3 hours doing like Lamaze, and then I didn't even like it, and I ended up like finding something else online and that she preferred that wasn't Lamaze. And so we don't spend too much focused on just one technique, but we cover a whole lot of techniques within the 7 videos. But then there's also a training side of the whole series, which is for centers to use to actually teach. So if you have a client who's pregnant and she's not able to take a birth class at her hospital because of COVID, or maybe she just doesn't have the time or whatever, you can just send her these videos. She can watch them at home. But then as the like client advocate, you also know all the info, so you could like talk with her about it and like just make sure that she's good, make sure she's feeling like she knows everything that she needs to for when she goes into labor. I could talk more about all what's in the whole thing, but it's kind of funny as a man, like producing all these like birth videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I just want to always throw in my 2 cents as a dad, where it's like, oh, you'll forget about, the pain. You'll want another baby in like, a year from now. That's just funny stuff.
Yeah, that's so when it comes to the people who are using these videos, that the executive directors at the pregnancy clinics across the country who use Heritage House and Bright Course for their client training, these videos, helping clients in certain scenarios. What kind of interaction have you heard from that group when it comes to like the need that your group is sort of filling? What kind of comments or feedback have you heard from the executive directors group?
Right. I just tons of high praise. I mean, I've asked plenty of times, like, hey, if you have any like negative feedback, please let us know so we can like make things better. And there's never been any of that, so it's nice. But yeah, everyone really loves it. The people that have used it, and like I said, there's been reports of people whose lives have been changed, and it's just, again, it's very humbling and just exciting, because it's like, man, I'm doing something that's making a difference. I think the greatest thing is like all this happened right before COVID hit, and so
Yeah, the hope sync was something that Brandon was talking about months before COVID, or maybe a year. I'm not sure, but it seemed like it was like perfectly aligned. Like
yeah,
it was ready to be launched right before COVID became a thing, right?
Yeah, I've heard of like some centers that like, they really like either shut down or they had to like, really just get smaller because not as many people were coming in or not as many people could come in or anything like that. But our videos really just saw like a huge boost in the amount of times that, client advocates were sending them to girls who were abortion minded, but maybe couldn't even come in to the center to talk or do a counseling thing. And so just straight up, just the videos were making a difference without even there being a one-on-one connection. And so I think, that's where everything's headed anyways, is like, if you're not doing stuff with video, then you're kind of like outdated maybe, and so now it's like, I'm just thankful to be used in such a vital role rather than just like making some, entertaining videos that have no purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to picking out new topics, what is that? What does the roundtable look like, or that brainstorming session, or who's working on like guiding, like which videos are going to be on the docket next? What does that
Right.
look like?
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm not the one who makes those decisions because I'm just probably wouldn't know what to think of next. But we have a bunch of producers. The one that I work with directly, her name is Kimberly, and I think her and Brandon are the ones who talk about like, all right, here's the next ones. But we do have a list of like a 7-year long list of videos that we've been producing. And so we're in like year 6 of that 7-year long, here's everything that we're going to make in the next 7 years. So 2 years left. And then the idea is basically, if we don't have new ideas, we'll just make the videos we made in year 1 better, which
Oh, okay. Yeah.
5 year, they're 5 years old. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, they are so bad compared to what we're, compared to like a hospital birth class video, like the one that I saw when, we were having my daughter, she's 11 now. So this was 11 years ago, watching a video that I believe was made in the 90s. Like this video was so bad. I'm pretty sure it was being played on a VHS, not a DVD or anything, so there's just a lot of bad content out there, and it's awesome that our stuff is just, I'm so proud of it. It's good stuff. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, so yeah, what are the things that make an older video bad? Is it the clothing, the video quality, the storytelling? Like, what parts feel? What is the most stale piece that seems to like mark an older video?
That's a good point, because it's like, hey, the information is still important, right? Like, so if you, even if you watch this old awful video, like you still learned, so it's fine. That's a good point, man. Yeah, I guess it's definitely like the 90s hair. Like you can recognize it a mile away. Maybe 10 years from now, it'll be like really cool again. So
yeah.
But yeah, what are some other things? I guess just the quality. Like, I mean, things in the 90s weren't even HD yet. So, our phones, we're looking at each other right now on, our phones, and the quality is better than 90s stuff. So,
yeah. Yeah, I would think if you're redoing a video project you did 5 years ago, you might have feedback from people who've used it, or maybe you might have a different way of telling the story. Maybe there's a way to make it shorter or more relevant based on there's probably a way to, it's probably a good exercise to refresh something after 5 years, because obviously it's not fresh anymore. So when you look at it, you'll be able to look at it with very critical eyes and find out how to make it better. Mm-hmm. And sometimes just doing it again, like it allows for it to have polish that you wouldn't have had in the first round. So I think that's a really good desire to have. It's often not ever found. Like the opportunity to redo something in 5 years seems to be something that's a great idea, but yet often not done. And so that's actually pretty exciting that you guys might actually get to redo some older pieces, trying to add some polish and get to tell that story again with all your current skill sets and so on. So that's exciting.
we're always getting better. You know, if you're not growing and learning, then you're not living. You know, it's
Yeah.
just part of life.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so when you used to live in Tucson, or we used to, before the podcast, we were talking about we could go back to some older stories of, back before you moved to Sholo, and so yeah, so we used back when you were with working with Amy Dobbins or Amy
Mhm.
Short, Amy Dobbins, I don't even know anymore,
Yeah, yeah.
but Dobbins, yeah, with yeah, the breakdown group. Yeah, we had to do some video. We did a man on the street video once, going to U of A, asking people questions about STDs, like literally
Mhm.
on the street. No one got the pre-warning notice. I'm trying to remember what we went and we were like, yeah, walking up to people and asking them questions. And I think you were the interviewer asking the
Yeah,
question, probably. Um,
that was cool. That was nerve-wracking, and it was
well,
like, yeah, I feel like, man, if we would have kept doing it, maybe after like 100 times, I feel like it probably would have been like comfortable talking with people.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, but yeah, talking to some random person at U of A about their thoughts about STDs in order to try and find in order to craft content that'd be helpful to someone else. That was a new experience. It's
I
pretty
wonder,
bold.
yeah, I wonder too, like, I mean, the thing is, like, how would you get a video that's just trying to tell college kids, not to sleep around uh in front of them? And that's a big challenge these days, is like just the amount of useless information that's there in front of all of us all day long, like whether you're
Yeah,
watching videos just on Facebook, or maybe you're like smart and you don't even watch anything, or you're not on social media, and then you just get home after a long day of work and you turn on the television. It's like Game of Thrones or something awful, just like in your face. But how do we get just positive messages and life-changing messages out, and
yeah.
just blast it? That's a huge challenge. So I think that's one of the reasons that I'm just so grateful for what we do, with this content, is because it's like, the audience is just built in. Like, it's struggling women or struggling families who want to get better, and they want this information. And so it's like, hey, well, here's all the information in a positive and entertaining format.
Yeah. So yeah, and Planned Parenthood, they created this app called Rue. Have you heard about Rue before?
No,
It's like
check
an
it.
abstinence education app where you're supposed to ask Rue the questions in order to get, their thoughts on, whether it's, a variety of questions that are inappropriate, like, well, not inappropriate, but well, in some cases they are, but of like sex education questions. And then they essentially have a series of videos that do it with humor and cutting edge technology to try and deliver these bad messages. And so I feel like there's definitely a need for us to be competing with, we're competing for people's attention and thoughts, and really, and trying to provide healthy decisions or healthy messages with videos is competing with what Planned Parenthood is providing, which is um, the opposite of that, unhealthy decisions and unhealthy content. And yeah, and I feel like that's growing. That space is growing when it comes to um, well, when it comes to providing information remotely. I feel like there's a lot of growth there in recent months and coming up in recent months and years. I feel like that's where where pricing clinics are going to be going, is doing more remote work, even with people going back to in person. I feel like the remote services is an area that we need to be growing as a group, because the opposition is doing a lot of work there when it comes to providing remote services, whether it's like they're mailing abortion pills through the mail and
Mm.
providing their services without, without doing it in person, or they're providing content through an app, or they're providing content remotely. Yeah, so I think there's a huge need for people to be equipped to provide remote services, because that seems like that's the new sidewalk per se, or the new space where we're competing is for that connection, to where someone might find a resource for where they're going to make, they might pull content from to make decisions from. And it's sort of daunting in some ways when it comes to that, competing on that virtual space, because it's not like a sidewalk where anyone can just walk up and be present. It requires a lot more work to get to that, quote, virtual sidewalk. So when it comes to Pam Stenzel, I know you guys did some videos with her.
Yeah,
that was about a year ago. She flew into Tucson, and we carpooled from Tucson to Sholo, and she's an amazing person when it comes to like her insight on the STD and sex education topics. She seems to be a leader in our country when it comes to being strong in that area. What were your thoughts on her video, the work that you were working with her on?
Yeah, she was awesome, because in the video that we were making, she was actually dissing on her own content from back in the 90s. So like in one of the videos, she was like, "Hey, center directors, are you still using, the one where I'm like, wearing the weird outfit and my hair is like this and stuff?" She's like, "Get rid of that and start using this one that we, are making here." So that was funny, but she's just awesome to work with. The way that we did all of those is we didn't even have a teleprompter or a script. We basically had the topic and the outline, and we'd go, "All right, go." And then she would just talk, and maybe I edited out a few ums or stutters, but it's like she's just knows her stuff. I mean, she's a motivational speaker and just does that stuff as a that's her job, But we actually have her coming back at the end of this month, and we will be filming some content. Yeah, and I should have actually double checked what that was before I started talking to you.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I have no idea what we are filming.
Well, it's probably gonna be on the STD topic again, I would expect, or in her her world.
We've also done with her just like, how would I describe this? Just advice for centers, like how to go about counseling, like in the counseling center. And so all of that's on Bright Course as well. I'd say maybe half of Bright Course is divided into information just for centers and counselors to learn how to be better at that. And then the other half is videos that centers can give to their clients, so their clients can learn either how to have a better labor and delivery, or how to be a better parent once their child is born. I think one of the things I didn't say this yet is just that, you go through all the work of helping this young woman choose life instead of choosing abortion, but then she still just is maybe in poverty, doesn't have a car, like doesn't have a job, has an abusive boyfriend, is just stuck in life. And it's like, and she kept her baby, but she has no clue how to be a good mom, or how to recognize that she's in an abusive relationship and needs to get out. And so we've got all these different videos that are talking about those things. I did a just like abusive relationships video where I got to interview different women who have been in them. And they were just like, every time just sharing, to whoever's going to be watching it, like, hey, these are the red flags. And like, if any of those are, signaling to you, get out of that relationship. And then, there's other advice for like, okay, well, maybe she can't leave the relationship because then she'll have nowhere to live. Well, here's, how to manage that and stuff. And so, of course, the situations are always way more specific for each individual, but we try to hit as many things as we can, you know.
Yeah, one of the messages that Pam Stenzel um, championed was that it was the idea that someone needs to get an STD test before having an abortion, which then
Right.
gives the pregnancy clinic an opportunity to meet with that woman before she actually goes to get a surgical abortion. And so, like, yeah, essentially, she was champion of like this idea of like three things you must do before you actually, to an abortion-minded woman, you need to do. One is know if your pregnancy is viable, which in other words, have an ultrasound, because if you have a tubal pregnancy, you need to know that it's a viable pregnancy first. And then secondly, to know how far along you are in order to know, potentially to know how many weeks into the pregnancy you are. And that's also a way of saying have an ultrasound, which is also a way to draw that client in, to then have an opportunity to talk, et cetera. And then the last one was to have an STD test. And then with that one, the idea is that if someone has an active case of chlamydia or gonorrhea, and if they happen to have a flare up and then they have a surgical abortion, they would be pushing or shoving cancer producing cells into the cervix if they actually have an abortion while having an active flare up. And so it's actually, essentially it's cancer producing and it's bad for their health. And so there's, if they went forward with the abortion, the idea is that they should know if they have an STD and then have it treated before. But then, our motive in doing all of this messaging is to essentially have more time with her and to have the opportunity to build up more rapport and be able to speak in healthy decisions so that she makes a decision she's going to enjoy for decades, not just for months, in the grand scheme of things. And so, but yeah, so that's a really interesting, tying in STD testing and connecting that to abortion vulnerable client services is a Pam Stenzel idea. I don't think anyone else had that except for, and my goal with that content or message is so that other clinics know, the genius that Pam Stenzel figured out there, so that they can use that same concept to draw in clients and find that doorway to talk to that client who's abortion minded, in order to have those minutes or hours, hopefully, to have rapport building, trust building, direction building time.
It's a completely second, like it's another thing that you can market, that you can even get women coming in who aren't pregnant at all, and they just come in just for a pregnancy test, and then you have an opportunity to talk to them about changing their lifestyle so that, hey, you came in because you're worried about, maybe having an STD. Would you like to not have to ever worry about getting an STD for the rest of your life? Well, here's, how you would go about that. So yeah, it hits a completely different, what would you call it? Not market. That sounds awful, but a different audience.
It's a different audience, or I think it's important for us to have a message that works for everyone who sees our content, whether they're pregnant or not pregnant, whether they have an STD or not have an STD. I think it's a healthy place for us as a group to have a way to make it so that when we reach out to a group of people, we have something for everyone in that sphere that's helpful to that entire group, each different segment of that group. One of the things that we're currently working on with Pam Stenzel, we're actually working on a video project to create a video series that's going to be on TikTok and Tinder. Sort of crazy spaces, cool. And it's going to be for promoting STD testing on TikTok and Tinder and other dating apps. And also YouTube pre-roll. And YouTube pre-roll makes a lot more sense to me. These other spaces are a little bit new, or we're cutting our teeth on these new places, but that's where the audience is.
Yeah, and so, I have no idea about Tinder. Like, that's obviously not something I should ever have, or see. And so, like, that's That's a smart idea, though. It's very brave. I didn't even know you could advertise on there or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet, but we're in the works of building out well, essentially we're working on trying to make a humorous set of videos, and um essentially the concept is to compete with Trojan in those spaces when it comes to humorous content, but trying to make STD testing humorous and entertaining has been the challenge that we've run into. But it's something that we're embracing and we're taking it on, and we're going to go for it. But so we could, if you would like, we could actually I could share some of the content that we're currently creating. I can get your feedback live on this podcast. What do you think? Is that something you'd be interested in?
We're gonna do this right now. All right.
Sure. Yeah. I might have to delay when we publish this podcast until like after I get a green light from community and Pam and and their group that it's okay to share brainstorming. And I can always cut this piece out if we have to. But
yeah.
But I think it might be really fun to hear your thoughts, because as a video producer, you're going to have some interesting feedback. And we've been trying to get some feedback from people who have like the natural funny, like they know how to find the funny. And so that's one group I've been trying to reach out to share these ideas with.
That's one thing that's so hard, is like, I think I'm hilarious, and then half the time my jokes fall flat. And so I'm always trying to push for like funny in our videos. And then my wife is like my, Jiminy Cricket. She's always like, oh, that's not funny. Don't put that in there. Like, no one's going to get that from the video.
Well, and I think that's sort of normal, that funny is not, everything is not funny, but you have to be willing to try enough spaghetti in order for something to stick eventually.
Yeah.
Just tell your wife, we need to throw more spaghetti. I don't know.
All right, let's do, maybe I got time for like maybe 2 or 3. How long are these?
Oh, they're 8-second videos, but describing them takes at least 3 minutes.
I probably have time for 2. No.
Okay, so the first one we have, it's called Asking for a Friend. And so this one is, actually, I could do a screen share.
Don't tell, Jake. Show it. Just show it.
All right. So I guess I'll have to. Okay, so we have this actor, and he leans into the camera and says, "Hey, come closer. Do you know where someone can get tested for an STD? I'm just asking for a friend." And so then we have like that contrast of the person pulling back, and essentially as if they're not asking for themselves. Obviously, they are asking for themselves. Brookie, back in the house. I'm on a podcast. Children. Thank you. Don't worry, I can edit that out. It's fine. All right, so we have this guy he's close to the camera. He says, "Hey, come closer. Do you know where someone can get tested for an STD?" Or we would use a frequently asked question for an STD at this point. And then he pulls back and says, "I'm just asking for a friend." And then we have the voice of God announcer come on saying, "For confidential STD testing, visit, the name of the clinic."
Right.
And then we have a 1 to 3 second pause. And then the voice of God says, "Bring a friend." And then there'll be a piece at the bottom that says, "Bring a friend." And what's sort of interesting about this is that we actually do want people to bring a friend when they come in. They don't have to come in alone to a clinic. But this person's probably asking for themselves, but they may be calling it asking for a friend. And then one of the follow-up videos that we might go with for this piece would be we would pan the camera back and we would show the person holding the boom mic. And that person would realize that he's now on camera and say, "Oh, I'm not the friend. I'm not his friend." But in reality, that person might be his friend, but he's not the friend he's asking for. And so, or we might pull back the camera and we might show someone else on the park bench who's sitting like 2 seats over, and that person looks over, "Oh, I'm not the friend. I'm not his friend." And so that would be the idea. That'd be the ongoing bit. So what are your thoughts on asking for a friend? Like, do you think that's got humor in there, or what are your thoughts as you hear that?
I thought you had already shot it and I got to watch it. So you haven't.
Oh, no. We've only done the script writing, and we've also done some casting calls. We have not shot any of these videos as of yet.
Very cool.
That
Man,
would be really nice if I had that part ready to show,
yeah,
because I would enjoy
yeah.
showing that. We're in the creative process at this point.
Well, that's good. The more amount of just brainstorming and stuff that you put into something, I think a lot of times, it makes something better. A lot of times, like, I'll just go do something and spend hours making it, and then it falls flat. And so it's like, that's really wise that you're like,
Well, we're
sharing.
trying to find the right actor and actresses to pull off these funny bits, because a part of it is having a line that has potential for funny. And then a bigger part seems to be to have that talent to actually be able to pull off that humorous line in a
Yeah,
way that actually comes off in a way that people enjoy in an entertaining and funny way. Or yeah, they can pull it off. So
well, I'm
finding
sure
really good talent
you know
seems to be
the
our key for this.
you just got to go to the theater department at the U of A, and just like all the people trying to be actors. I'm sure they'll do a great job. But yeah, I think that the concept sticks. It's funny, and the idea of bringing a friend as well. I wonder, if I wonder, I don't know. I have no experience with this, but do girls, when they find out they or think they might have an STD, do they tell their friends before they go get tested, or do they keep that a secret? I'm sure with guys, oh, you keep that a secret. You're not going to tell any of your friends. I would, if I found out, I would not tell my best friend in the world. It would just be a secret. I would never share that. So I wonder if that bit, to
Yeah, and
bring a
I
friend,
think
how that
you're
would
right.
go.
Probably a large percent would not tell anybody, but I'm sure there's some people who would pull in a trusted friend to share that with. Um, but really, in the end, by saying bring a friend, we're asking that person to come on in and come
Yeah,
in to get tested.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, I get it now.
yeah, so bring a friend, bring a friend is sort of a way of saying you could come on in. And there's different ways of
Yeah, because
playing
it's
off
like
those phrases.
it's not me, it's my friend. I brought my friend. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So it's a bit we're working on. Um, yeah, we have time maybe for one more. Let me go ahead and pull up one more of these. Um, let's see. I'll do this one here. This one we call angel versus devil. And so we have a person in the middle, and then on one shoulder we have an angel video bubble or person, and on the other shoulder we have the devil. And so the devil is saying, and this one is still completely in the works. This is a rough draft. There's going to be some changes made, but so this is the current draft though. So the devil says, "Wow, that was fun Saturday night." And the angel says, "But now, what are you going to do?" The devil says, "It was so much fun sowing our wild oats." And the angel says, "Now let's pray for crop failure. Only time will tell." And the devil says, "Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock." And the voice of God comes on. "For confidential STD testing, visit name of clinic." 1 to 3 second pause, time to get tested. And then the devil's voice in the background, tick tock, tick tock. So with this one, yeah, Pam Stenzel thought our crop failure wild oats joke was about 30 years too old, maybe 40 years too old. But so we're gonna try and come up with a modernized version of that that would reflect what someone in a bigger city would enjoy. A way of
Just
sort of saying that.
they just need to say, I'm sure the devil actor, whoever you get, could just be pretty vulgar, like without swearing or anything, but just maybe just doing some hip thrusts or something like that. It's more visual than saying, don't say wild oats. That's yeah. It's just such an old, yeah, no one says that.
Yeah, and so it's a really old joke because we potentially could try and use, a visual, the concept, display it. And what the the devil, we were thinking about like uh, essentially a large, fat man, probably with like scruffy beard, uncombed hair, maybe even a cigar, Something along those lines, sort of like almost like
Yeah.
Jim Belushi with his shirt off kind of concept. And then for the angel, we're thinking of like a Barney, like a clean, skinny, Barney Fife kind of character, or maybe like a sassy African American. Essentially a very stark contrast between the angel and devil when it comes to like, one's clean, one's messy, one's obnoxious, one is very very organized and like almost sort of trying to create like the Apple guy versus the PC guy kind of combo where they have that stark contrast on, in that
I
case
remember
it's
those.
creativity.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, trying to come up with like those kind of characters to have, to build a series out of, and then having those conversations, those kind of video pieces.
Well, that's cool. I think, both of them will be successful. And the important thing is have something, don't just wish that you had an ad. It's better to have a okay ad than wait around for the best ad ever, and so just do it and see where it goes. That's, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big component of if you don't try something, you won't know where it could have led, because sometimes you have to go through a rough draft before you can get to that next version. Or sometimes you'll get, it'll just work out and it'll be really well, it'll come out great. And you got to try it. That's right. Trying it's really important, and going for it, these kind of projects. But yeah, so that's something we're currently working on, and it's sort of it's outside of what we normally work on, but but yeah, that's something we're currently trying to find the funny in STD testing, which is a bit of a challenge. So when it comes to the genres of videos that you guys work on, have you, when it comes to trying to add the funny in, what does that look like when you're trying to figure out how to bring in interesting elements or entertaining elements or humor into a video project? How do you go, like, what does your mindset look like when you try and work on that?
As we've continued to grow in the way that we make these videos, it's changed a lot. We used to do a lot of like scripted things where we would try to emulate like a popular show or something, or maybe like make it look like a news thing. So it was always like more theme than maybe there's just a hilarious joke or anything like that. So like, for instance, you remember, I think it's Dan Rather or 60 Minutes or whatever, or
Okay.
where he's like the detective kind of guy, and he's just standing there and he's like, when this is happening, then that it's because of this thing. So stuff like that. That was one that we had made where it was like, man, we really tried hard, like to just shoot that style and get the lighting where it was like always looking like Dick Tracy or whatever. So we moved from that to now, a lot of it's maybe not necessarily just funny, but it's more just real, like where, we're interviewing real moms, just going around getting footage of their babies, their kids, and what they're going through in their day to day. And then focused on the theme of, like, for instance, the teething video. Well, we went to some moms' houses who their toddlers were teething, and we just hung out with them for an hour and just videoed kind of what their day was like. And so, did anything hilarious happen? No. And so, but it's more just like very relatable to the audience, because a lot of times I'm watching YouTube videos where people are just vlogging, or they're talking about their life, and for some reason I'm interested in how many nachos they ate that night, and it's not funny, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I want those now.
The fact that you're interested in it is pretty funny.
Yeah. I watching this person's life? I have nothing better to do, right? Like I should eat right now. So it's kind of, that's where we're headed with, I think, what we want to do, except at the same time, all of the information we're giving is like pediatrician approved, and it's like actual facts and like science, and not just something that we saw on a, you know, a forum. And so it could be anyone sharing this advice. It's like, no, everything's like doctor approved, actual tips and tricks to do, you know. And so there's kind of a fine line there between just being like, you know, your audience's best friend, and then also being like the expert. And so we'll go and video doctors and have them in the video. And then that's usually my favorite thing, though, is like getting the doctors to say something funny, because then it's like you see their like humanity and not just them as like, you know, this, yes, they're an expert, but oh, they had kids too, and they like remember, you know, these things. And so, yeah.
That's an interesting point, because my experience with doctors is that sometimes the way they talk comes off very, very formal or medical, medical content sounding. It doesn't come off as maybe relatable. And trying to actually guide them towards creating relatable, conversational pieces is, I think, a huge plus, because as people are more likely to absorb what they're saying if it comes off in a more casual or relatable style.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily that's not their default by any means. I think their default is very clinical or medical sounding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for many doctors, obviously not all, but many doctors, it feels like that's sort of like their professional opinion is very, very, sometimes hard to connect with. Sometimes
we've been very fortunate. A lot of times I'm driving down to Tucson or Phoenix to video people, though, because it's kind of rural up here, but it's sometimes just hard to find like the right person to be in the video. But like the amount of doctors and stuff here, like we've met with a lot of them, you know, to try to find like who's going to be good, the good doctor to be in our videos. So yeah.
Ah, okay, that's good. So you've essentially done some work to find relatable people who can, deliver that message that you need for that piece. It makes sense. Interesting. Well, cool. So, what's your next project coming up? Like, what's coming up for your next piece around the corner?
We are very excited to be doing a healthy relationships series. This is replacing the healthy relationships series that we currently have, which was divided into like a men's and then a woman's ones, where it was basically just bashing the opposite sex. No, I'm just kidding. They were good, but they're a little outdated now because they were done in the early 2000s, and so it's 20 years old now, which is crazy. Oh, wow. Right?
Yeah.
But so we're just updating those. And what's awesome is my wife and I, we've been married for 13 years. We get to share just a lot of our own stuff because, well, first of all, we've got plenty of stuff to share. We're still together. But yeah, we've been through a lot. And so like we have a lot of advice there. And then with the other videos that I've done about abusive relationships and stuff, we just know a lot about red flags and stuff. And then we've got a lot of different Christian marriage books, like Boundaries in Dating, Boundaries in Marriage, and then Love and Logic. What's the one where it's like the guys speak blue and the girls speak pink? We've watched a lot of marriage advice videos in the last 13 years. So we've like taken just our favorite parts of all those things and stuff that we would tell anyone who's in a dating relationship thinking about getting married, like just stuff that we would share with them. So is your
wife's name Megan? Okay. Yeah. And does she help? And she helps you with different like audio, and sometimes she's on in some of the videos, right?
She's the star, Jake. She's our star. She does all the voiceover work, most of it. Sometimes we get other people to be, the face on the videos. But yeah, she's just a great teleprompter reader. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because I've seen her in several of the videos, and I think she really does she's really good in front of the camera. Yeah, it works. She does really well as the talent that you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
She's
awesome.
done theater like all her life, so yeah, she's good.
Awesome. So what would you like to share with an executive director who happens to be listening to this podcast as they're wrapping up their drive, picking up their kids from school or, doing the dishes?
Yeah.
What would you like to say to them before we wrap up this piece?
Just first of all, thank you so much for what you do. Obviously, you feel God has called you to do this work. I don't think anyone's just like, yeah, I want to work super, super hard without God's calling being on their life. So thank you for pursuing what you know you are supposed to be doing. If you have a chance to just check out brightcourse.com and hopesync.com, it'll give you much better info and probably a lot faster than I could just tell you all about it. So take a look if you have a chance. And that's it.
Yeah, it seems like a large percent of clinics, I don't know what the percentage is, but it seems like most clinics seem to be connected with Heritage House and Bright Course. Like it's
right.
more common than not that they are using your materials. And so I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are familiar with what the content you're talking about. Like they're currently using it, they're promoting it, they're thankful for it. And so I feel like that's the most common story, is that people are already connected. And then if anyone's not connected, this is something that almost everyone else is already using. So you should definitely consider using it, because it's there's a reason why it's the norm. It's the the common go-to for video resources. Like it makes a lot of sense for why so many people do enjoy using it. Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being on this podcast, and also thank you for helping us make several videos. You've helped us in several times, and I'm looking forward to the next video project with you as well. Because your work is so much fun as a unique flavor of video creation. You have a unique creative style that is just really good, and it's a great way to deliver positive messages. So I just want to say thank you for working with us as well to help craft content that we then provide and work with clinics and centers to leverage on their websites. And so your videos are one of our main pushes for sharing with clinics to connect with on their client-facing websites, to draw in the abortion-minded client on these different topics. And so your video work is making a difference, making a positive difference across the country. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I wasn't gonna mention that I'm like your guys' video guy, but until you mentioned it. So yeah, yes, that's me.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of hats. I mean, you sort of take on a lot of roles, and you've been doing videos for so long. Like,
right.
You have a lot of history in the video creation world.
Well, it was tough because like I was like, man, what am I gonna say? Because like I know what I could talk about video, but like with everything in the pro-life movement, I don't really know everything that's going on. And so I'm glad you were able to steer me in the right direction with, keeping on topic with what I know really well. So
yeah, and that's fine. And I'm in the same boat. Like I would like to know more, but there are so many pockets where I'm not connected well enough to know what's really going on there. And I feel like God's, like the whole concept of like the body of Christ. Like I feel like some people in the body of Christ are working in this area, and it's okay for for the rest of us to lean on them to be the expert in that world, and for us to be focusing in our area. And as a group, we form the body of Christ, in this pro-life arena. And so I feel like because like there's if you think about the legal, the political, the creative, the clinic work, there are so many areas of the pro-life work. Many of us, maybe Jarrell with Heartbeat, like he might be the exception where he actually sort of has like a good oversight of everything going on, but not me. Like I feel like I'm focused on the marketing, and that's my sphere. And I feel like you've got to focus on video production for helping clients with their next steps. Like that's your sphere. And that's a big sphere. Like these are not small spheres. Like you could spend, if you devote yourself to one area, it's not like you're going to run out of work. I mean, there's so many things to do in any given sphere. Same thing with like legal. Like the reason why NIFLA and ADF are so important is because they take on that sphere, and I don't have the bandwidth. I lean on them for their expertise in those areas, and I'm glad we have good people in these different spheres. And so Heritage House and Bright Course are taking on an area, and I feel like that's like part of this large body of Christ, and you guys are taking on that that part of the need. And so I think in the end we all sort of work well together. Like I feel like there's like this pro-life family or pro-life team kind of feel that we all sort of take on different areas, and I'm really thankful that we have so many different types of people in the work, because as a group we can then I feel like God's the oversight or the director, and he's making all these pieces work together. And very often a lot of us sort of get our heads down and we focus in our area, and we don't necessarily get to see the bigger picture. It's just then so I experience the same thing. Like I'm focusing on the marketing, and then I lose sight of these other areas because I'm just so focused on that sphere.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I can relate to that feeling.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for giving me a chance just to talk to your audience and just share a little bit about me and all the cool stuff I'm making.